Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about how to deal with politics. That is a thinker. That's something that we may not like to think about, but this is the perfect opportunity to really think about it with Shannon. Thank you so much, Shannon, for coming on to my show and sharing your time. I am excited to really pick your brain on this because this is a topic that people really do need to think about. So,
Yes.
when you hear these words, how to deal with politics, what does that make you think about?
Oh, well, first, thank you so much for the invitation. I love the show, and so I'm happy to be a guest. What does it mean to deal with politics? I think there's sort of two arenas. It's big P politics and little p politics. So like
Yeah.
big P politics is like our national conversation and elections and those kind of things. And the little p politics is how we relate to our neighbors and our coworkers and each other. And I think that the little p politics has gotten overtaken by the big P politics, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so that's kind of what I lean into is how do we deal with our neighbors and our coworkers and our kids, parents, friends, and all of the people in life when our big P politics is so divisive and gross and
Yeah.
kind of tearing us apart. How can we keep the focus on the people right in front of us?
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you. I've been waiting for somebody like you, Shannon.
Oh, wonderful.
Like, we needed to get real because this is the real politics. You know what I mean? Is our
Yeah,
neighborhood, our community, our environment, what we interact with, what we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. That is the true politics of our lives because
yeah,
we are always trying to determine what's best for ourselves and what's best for the community, what's best for our children, what's best for, you know what I mean? And that's kind of to a degree is what government is trying to doing. And what we
absolutely.
need to do is govern our lives, you know, and we don't really consider that when we do get so focused on the big P, you know what I mean? And I love
Hmm.
that's how your analogy is the big P and little P, you know what I mean? It's like the big traumas and little traumas, you know what I mean? If you really think
Yes.
about it in that aspect, because it's really it really makes you dive deep into the conversation of politics and how to really run our lives. So, what is the best way to manage dealing with the ins and outs of our days?
Hmm. I love the analogy to big traumas and little traumas because big traumas are the ones we sort of pay attention to, but little traumas are the ones that really affect us over and
Yeah.
over and over again. And those are the things that sort of sear into our soul, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same kind of thing. If you are able to turn off the news, you are able to mute, prominent people in your social media feeds. Um, but when you are dealing with politics with people who you have to interact with,
Hmm.
that can be hard. And so I think the first thing that we always counsel people is to remember that, what a member of Congress says in front of a microphone to stir people up, even if they are of the same political party as your next door neighbor, try not to hold your next door neighbor responsible for what a member of Congress has said, or the president, or any of these things. Um, the the fact that we have two major political parties in this country means that there's going to be a lot of diversity of thought within those parties. And we've been seeing that on both sides. I mean, that's one of the things that's super interesting about the conversation among Democrats about where do we go and what do we do with moderate Democrats and traditional Democrats and Democratic socialists, and then the same thing on the left. What do we do with what I call legacy Republicans? People have been Republicans for a very long time versus MAGA versus, really like evangelical Christians who sort of don't sometimes they fit some of these things. They're really interesting Venn diagrams. Like sometimes they
Yeah.
overlap, but sometimes they don't. And I think it's easy just to put everybody in a box and say, "Oh, well, you're part of that mess over there. I don't want to talk to you."
Yeah.
But so the more that we can separate people from their political party labels, I think is helpful. In the same way that we separate them from all their other labels, you know, maybe teachers and people who drive minivans and union members and Taylor Swift fans and
Yeah.
all the things that make us multifaceted. We have a tendency not to do that with politics, and it would be better if we did.
Yes, I think I think what you said just holds so much value because he makes you really realize in the grand scheme of things, we have a problem with labels and we
Mm.
have a problem with dividing ourselves amongst those labels. And once you're labeled with one label, you cannot be labeled with another label because then you are a hypocrite, or you are this, or you are that. You know what I mean? And it's like it's more about, oh, tell me about yourself, but what you're really doing is when you tell you about yourself, they want to know all of these labels, where you fit in society, what your beliefs in
Right?
politics, where you believe in this and this. Oh my goodness, the life the that list can go on. It's like a scroll that once you unroll,
Absolutely.
it goes, and if it hits stairs, it's gonna keep on going down because
Right.
there's so many ways that we divide ourselves, but without actually realizing the common denominator is that we're human beings. The
Yes. And
common
in
fact.
fairness, the reason we do that is because we're human beings.
Exactly, exactly. So it's like it makes sense, but at the same time, it's like that should be our unity point. You know what I mean? That's where we
Yeah.
should feel united because we are human. You know what I mean? Just because you're a teacher doesn't make your life less valuable than a doctor. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or
Absolutely.
just because you stock groceries at Walmart or something doesn't
Yes.
make you less of a human being just because you're not writing code. You know what I mean? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like you can do both. You can write code and work as a stalker at a grocery store. You know what I mean? You
Yes.
can be a doctor and be a delivery driver. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it doesn't
Absolutely.
matter. And I think that, like you said, like it's a problem because it's like they want what they want to know and they don't want to budge ahead. So it's like, what is the right way of dealing with people so that we can have that common denominator seen as a good thing?
Mm-hmm. I think first is to um, sort of set the expectation for ourselves that this
Hmm.
is what I want. I want a lot of people with a lot of diversity in my life.
Yeah.
I want visible diversity. I want diversity of, like, because all the little conflicts make the big conflicts easier to deal with. Because if
Yeah.
we have people in our networks, in our spheres, some people who rent and some people who own,
Hmm.
and some people who have kids and some people who don't, some people who um, have graduate degrees and some people who didn't graduate high school. Um, some people who think Ross on Friends was absolutely justified during the break, and some people who don't. Like,
Yeah.
these are the conflicts that we can get over, Vikings fans versus Packers fans, or,
Yeah.
whatever your chosen sports team is. Actually, that's one of the reasons I was talking to somebody about this earlier. I have a theory that one of the reasons that the presidential campaign in 2020 got so ugly was
Huh.
because that was that part of COVID where we were all sort of locked down and there weren't any sports, or there was way less sport. Like, remember, there wasn't high school
Yeah.
sports, college
No
sports was a little
sports.
weird, even like the NFL, they could play as long as nobody
No
tested
touching. Yeah.
positive. And then when they did, it was the stands were empty. So we didn't have
Yeah.
Americans like competition. We
Yeah.
need our healthy competitions and we need our little conflicts to be able to say, okay, well, you know, I'm this fan and you're a that fan, and we're not going to get together on that one particular Sunday, but the rest of the time we're cool.
Yes,
You know?
yes. Oh my goodness, I love it because I was just speaking to somebody about how there needs to be a healthy amount of conflict in our lives
Exactly.
because that's how we thrive, that's how we grow, that's how we evolve, that's how we move forward in life. You know what I mean? It keeps us yearning for the next step. And I do think you're right. You're onto something.
Yeah.
I'm feeling your theory. You know what I mean? You may got something going on. I like the hypothesis. You know what I mean? We gotta
Yeah.
test it out and break it real down, scientific mode if we really got to. But I do believe in what you're saying because during that time, everyone was at a halt. The only ones that were freaking out are the people that were considered to be essential, you know what I mean? All those
Hmm.
healthcare workers and all those, oh my goodness, the list can go on, but it's like we really do not have that conflict in that part, and then it makes it really more serious. So it's like that's the reason why when somebody doesn't have chaos in their life and everything's going good, what do? They cause a scene. They do something to make this why get their adrenaline pumping, like, yeah, that felt good. You know
Right.
what I mean? Because they feel alive, standing for something, moving for something, doing something for a cause. That's the reason why people will go out and picket fence and hold
Hmm.
up a sign and cause this big scene to let people know that this situation matters. So I'm curious, what got you into this? Like what got you into the political field?
Um, I blame my parents, actually. Blame is a strong word. So I am the oldest of three girls.
Okay.
I check all the psychological oldest child boxes, like every single one of them. But my parents, my dad was in law enforcement, my mom was a journalist, and so they
Oh.
didn't have like specifically political roles, but growing up, like they were very politically adjacent and very politically involved. Um, but my dad is one of those legacy Republicans,
Mm,
and my mom is a Democrat
mm.
or a libertarian, depending on the day and the issue.
Right?
She's got some fluidity on that side of the spectrum. Sometimes we say she's so far left, she wraps around the other side. Um, she enjoys that. But so what that taught me was that if you have different political views, you can totally be in relationship, like they
Yeah.
found other things. Those two, I mean, they celebrated their 55th year of marriage
Oh.
in June. They go vote together every single election. And one of the reasons that they go vote together is because they know they're going to cancel each other's votes out. So they both have to go. Like, right, and I will say, like, the older they get, the less I think they're always canceling people out, depending on who's on the ballot and whatever. But this idea that you can't be in relationship to somebody because you vote differently is so weird to me
Yeah.
because I have watched them make it work every single day of my life.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a true testimony that you can live on and share with your generations and your kids. And I think that really holds value because it just shows that you really can is have that common denominator more than just being humans. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You can have this sincere love of one another that just because you see life differently from a different lens doesn't make you less valuable or less sane. You know what I mean? It just makes
Right.
you, it could just make it interesting. You don't really want somebody to always agree with you. You don't want that yes man. You know what I mean? It gets
Yeah.
boring. Where's the conflict? Where's the razzle dazzle? Where's my high blood pressure? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you need something to really keep it interesting. And I think when you want people to just be so similar all the time, I mean, it takes away from the beauty of who you are. You're not supposed to like everything. You're not supposed to like everyone. It's okay to have your likes and your dislikes. And I think it just brings value of who you are as a unique individual. And I just want to touch base on your how you're the oldest of three. I'm the
Hmm.
youngest of three. And I tick all the boxes for the oldest syndrome. And my
Interesting.
sister has the attitude and objectives of the youngest one. So for some reason, me and her, like, we somehow switched. And my middle sister, she's the
She's the
typical
middle child.
middle. Yeah, she's the
Yeah.
typical middle child. So she stays in her place. But me and my sister, we totally switched because she lives this YOLO, I carefree, I don't plan, I don't do anything.
Right.
I don't say, like, no, I am a planner, I'm a saver, do my checklist, I do what I gotta do. I make sure everyone's accounted for, I make sure everyone's heard, I make sure everyone's notified. Like, I get it done. So I think it's so funny that you check all those things. My sister does not. Like, she's at the last child mindset. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. So
Does
I
it give you anxiety when she does things?
Oh my goodness, you have no idea. It's like, why? Like, why is this a thing? Like, I just want to shake her sometimes. Like, wake up, wake up. Like, Like she really gets to me sometimes, but then I remember like, you know what, I love her for who she is. She's still my sister, and it just motivates me to stay on my path.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
Oh, yes. So I guess I have to ask you then, what is a wrong way to look at politics?
Um, well, this one might be a little controversial. In my opinion,
That's who I'm asking.
um,
That's what I want to
right?
know.
In my opinion, the distilling down to political policy to 100% morally right and 100% morally wrong is part of the reason that we're in this spot that we're in.
Mhm.
And I say that because so I'm a huge Aaron Sorkin fan. I've seen everything he's ever done. Not on Broadway, but The West Wing and Sports Night and Studio 60 and Few Young Men or the and and one of the lines in West Wing, which I can quote almost everything of the 7 seasons, which is bizarro. Like you don't even want to go there.
No
Uh,
judgment for judgment-free zone.
excellent. But there was a line about um, there are very few days where decisions are 100% right and 100% wrong, and often those days come with body counts.
Mm.
And I believe that. I believe that, we need to embrace the nuance in public policy, in, sort of group decisions, in our social contract between each other. Um, because well, like I've watched this happen at our legislature. Some of the legislators have adopted the language that a budget is a moral document. And, whether that's true is debatable. But I get their point that, this is how we show in numbers what we care about and what we spend money on things is what we care about. And yes, I absolutely get that. The challenge comes when you sort of stake a position that this is a right or this is an absolute right and this is an absolute thing we have to do for moral reasons. And then you get into a situation where you can't do it. Like if there's just not enough money or there are decisions that have to be made. And then you wind up, people have a really hard time negotiating their way out of, well, if you don't believe in this, then you're morally wrong because then
Yeah.
they tie themselves up in knots.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so we're starting to see that. I mean, we've been seeing this with politicians for a while. We're starting to see this in our broader community.
Hmm.
Advocacy organizations have been adopting this, and it's partially because and I worked in campaigns for a long time, and I've worked in advocacy for a long time, and lobbying, and um, happy people are really hard to motivate.
Hmm.
And so to motivate people, particularly during election seasons, you need people to be fearful or you need people to be angry, and you often
Hmm.
need to point that at your opponent.
Hmm.
That's the way it is, and it's the most effective thing. And so more and more campaigns and advocacy organizations and candidates on all sides of all the aisles have been doing this. And if you motivate your supporters to, call their congressman or go to a protest or, vote or give money or whatever, if you do that and then you win whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, then great. Your supporters are happy. But if you don't, then you're left with a bunch of people who are fearful and angry, and they have nothing to do with all that fear and anger. And so it festers.
Hmm.
So, now that
Yeah.
our campaign cycles sort of never stop, we're kind of
Yeah.
we're in like this hurricane constantly of this negative stuff. And we don't know what to do with all the fear and the anger that we have spun up.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that. Oh, Shannon, I've been waiting for you, woman. Because I have been waiting for somebody to say that, because it's not talked about. This fear tactic, that
Yeah.
motivator, you know what I mean? It's not motivating, it's crippling at times. And that's
Yes.
why people reject it in completely, because it's so paralyzing that you rather not even deal with it in general. And that's the reason why half of the time when when the major the big
Yes.
politics come around and those major elections come in, oh, is this a dreadful season? That 1.5 years of constant, non-stop
Yeah.
campaigning, it really takes a toll on everybody, because the closer we get to the date, the heavier it gets. You know what I mean? The more fearful it gets, the more pressure it gets, the more real it gets. And then every action, every vote really does matter, because then it goes down to, oh, so you're just gonna let everybody be in fear, you're just gonna let everybody be angry, that, you know what
Right.
I mean? So it's like there's really no this equal medium, and it's really hard to deal with. And it sucks that happy people aren't motivated because they're just happy, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, there's
Right. I
nothing
mean,
wrong
that's
with
just,
being happy, but it's just like, at the same time, it's like it's not gonna nudge you to get off the couch and vote if you're already happy, you know what I mean?
yes.
So I understand the psychological aspect of it, but there has to be some type of balance in play, so that when you do find that voter, or I mean, or when you do finally vote and you do go through the elections and they announce everything, there needs to be some peace. You know what I mean? There needs to be
Yes.
something back in return, knowing that it's not that bad, it's not that scary, they aren't that, you know what I mean? There's
Right.
something to give and take, because leaving people with all of that built up, it gets this retaliation out of people sometimes. You
Yes.
know what I mean? They got to retaliate in a way to show their anger, or show their support, or show their, I mean, something, because we see it. I mean, there's been documents of it throughout the generations, no
Yes.
matter which part of the world you're in, you know? So it really does show that it needs to be dealt with in a different way. And it sucks that time is catching up to us, Shannon, because I feel like I could keep talking to you about this in so many different
You and I are
avenues.
going to be friends.
We really are. So, with that being said, what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
I would say just look at the people in your life, and if you have people who sort of politically annoy you, the best thing you can do is try to take politics out of the equation. Find five things that you like. If you have a coworker who's got like the crazy conspiracy theories ideas, like if you can find five things that you have in common and base your entire relationship on those five things. You work in the same department, you both like to fish, you like the same TV show, you both have kids the same age, you both hate somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a whole thing about using bonding as or using hate as a bonding thing. It's a thing. But anyways, um, when you can let the politics thing, like let people's crazy ideas be okay. Being kind to a coworker does not mean that you're endorsing conspiracy theories. It just, like if they run for office, don't vote for them. But
Yeah.
other than that, like let it be okay. You will be better off. Your coworker will be better off. The other people who are in the department will be better off. And same thing if that's a PTA, that's your neighborhood, that's all the things. That's my recommendation.
Oh, absolutely. I love it, because it makes you realize, like, no matter where you're at, you can at least make that a rule of thumb. Like, hey, let's just keep politics out of the equation. That's the reason why they say keep politics and religion out of the equation. So we keep an equal civil workplace, civil environment, just so that we can find other commonalities and unite in that way. Because at the end of the day, we're human, we're emotional, and we are stubborn, and we are kind of, you know what I mean? We're foolish
Amen.
sometimes. You know what I mean? We're everything that can be a human being, but that's what makes us so beautiful and amazing. You know what I mean? We get to feel these emotions, feel these highs, feel these lows, and figure it out within ourselves, and figure out what works for ourselves, because that's what makes us unique. We have a brain. Let's use it.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, go check out Shannon. I have access to her website, which she has access to so much great information, so much great content, just so that you can continue on thinking, because isn't that the point? Yes, it is. So, with that being said,